Technology, we haven't always been the best at predicting what gadgets will be a hit, right? A Western Union exec once said the telephone has too many shortcomings. And one exec once said that no one would ever want a computer in their home. But that obviously hasn't stopped us from trying. 2013 brought us some very cool tech and some not so much. We've got three experts today to separate the tech fails from the tech phenomenal. Brett Larson is host of Tech Bites, Mashable.com's Christina Warren also with us, and Scott Steinberg of Tech Savvy Global. We are taking a look at all the gadgets and tech companies, first gadgets that were your tech fabulous this year, and then we'll get to the tech fails, guys. And listen, if one of you disagrees with another, I want you to chime in. But isn't that, Christina, just thinking that there were shortcomings in the telephone and not everybody's going to want a computer in their house. That's pretty hilarious if you think about it.
It shows that anything we're saying today, don't hold it against us in 50 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. Boy, have we come a long way. All right, so Christina, the best and then the worst. You start.
All right, so one of my big winners this year is going to be Google and Google Glass. Yes, it's creepy. Yes, it's ugly. Yes, you're going to look like a glass hole. But it's also one of the coolest things we've seen, and it's kind of the future of this kind of wearable tech stuff. And I think that no one could stop talking about it. It was in vogue. It was on the runway. And so to me, it's a huge winner. I think Google Glass is one of those things that, love it or hate it, it was one of those big products that we couldn't stop talking about this year. So that's my first winner. My second's actually going to be kind of controversial. I think some of these guys might disagree. I'm going to say Apple. As much flack as everybody gives them, I think that they had the best products that they've had in years out this year. The iPhone 5S with the Touch ID fingerprint sensor is amazing. The iPad Air is thinner than ever, and the new Mac Pro is just a phenomenal piece of engineering. So I'm going to say that Apple really won this year.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree slightly with the assertion that I agree that they've had some great things. I think it's kind of a hit or miss with Apple. I feel like they're kind of starting to lose the game that they started. They created the whole concept of all of us carrying around tablets, or at least made them cool. But I feel like they're starting to lose to the competition. You know, the Surface 2 sold out. The Amazon Kindle has just as nice a display as the iPad Air
the
for
Surface 2 sold out because they cut the price $500. Come on,
that's saying a lot.
Come on, guys.
All right, go ahead.
Keep in mind, there's also the bigger picture too, right? Is it doesn't matter if you're buying from Apple, Sony, Samsung. Smartphones and tablets as a whole have grown exponentially. So the irony is we talk about not having a PC in every house. The argument that you can make to counter that is actually that smartphones and tablets are computers. They're just packaged a little bit more portably and more user-friendly. So they really are in every house and in every pocket.
So, Scott, what was your favorite then?
Well, I think my favorite thing was the growing sense of practicality as well as performance. So we saw in 2013 how more and more gadgets have become much easier to use. They've got much more practical, everyday, useful features, and everybody's doubling down on power and performance. But as we saw, even with Apple and other manufacturers, it's not always about the latest and greatest. It's about what's the most useful.
All right, so Scott, what do you think was the least useful then?
Well, I think a lot of these Boy, way to put me out there. Yeah, some of these connected TVs, actually, I'm gonna put them on the line. I'm gonna say a lot of the connected TVs, because surveys were showing that people actually were not using most of the features. They were streaming Netflix, they were listening to Pandora, but everything else went by the wayside. And of course, all these advancements were heavily marketed, cost millions, and I don't think they were that practical, so not a lot of people were using them.
Okay, Brett, how about you?
I want to speak quickly to what Scott said about the smart TVs. I think the other problem is what we're seeing is people are using things that give them good content. So they're using Netflix and they're using Pandora because those are two entertainment things. Like I'm not a fan of Major League Baseball, so I'm not going to use the MLB plugin on a smart TV, but I may watch some Amazon original programming on the Amazon Prime streaming app. I think we dismiss a lot of technology for its not being very practical, but what we're really saying is it's just a conduit to provide entertainment or content, and when it's not being used properly, then it's just going to die by the wayside. Like Beta, there was no content on Beta, which is why VHS won. It's you don't have to look too far back.
Oh my gosh, I go all the way back to 3/4, so that's a whole nother discussion. Shows how old I am.
Actually, it's interesting that you bring that up, because that was another big loser this year, was physical media. It's streaming everything.
Absolutely.
Music, movies, books, games. You can get it all digitally now. I wouldn't necessarily want to be in the business. I know music has been right-sizing itself somewhat, but I'm not sure I would want to be in the business of selling CDs or DVDs at this point.
Okay, bold prediction for 2014. Christina.
I think that the wearables are actually going to go mainstream. I think they're finally going to get attractive. And I actually think we might see a bit of a comeback with physical media, only because 4K is going to be a big tax on broadband, and people might actually have to buy Blu-rays so they can watch 4K content on their 4K TVs.
Scott?
I'm actually going to say that it's going to come down to, as far as winners go, not necessarily the most performance-oriented, like I said, but the most practical. So it's not necessarily going to be about the technology, but the more human elements, how we use it, whoever offers the most affordable and practical, everyday, convenient features.
Brett?
I think we're going to see big changes in privacy. I think people are becoming very concerned with what the NSA can see and do with all of our stuff. And I think the winner next year, the big bold prediction is going to be whoever steps forward and says, your secrets are safe with us, park them here, they're going to win next year.
Oh, I tell you, I mean, all the gray areas with regard to the law, too, all the legal stuff that we've talked about because of social media and technology. Yeah, it's crazy. Brett, Christina, Scott, thanks, guys, so much.
Thank you.